Pretty good now.
Yeah. All right, I'll call the August 15th city council meeting to order. Call the roll. All right, I'll call August 15th city council meeting to order.
I'll just shut it off.
All right, that works.
Abby Hansen,
Here.
John Hawkins,
Here.
Megan McFarland,
Here.
Matt McKinney, Logan Welch,
Here. Call for motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1, petitions, communications and requests. This is the time of the meeting that a citizen may address the council on a matter not on the agenda. Except in case of emergency, the city council will not take any action at this meeting, but may ask city staff to research the matter. I have the matter placed on the meeting for a future meeting. Have anybody here tonight? Won't get caught like last time. So we have reminder everybody that there's a tour to Webster City bicycle race and fun ride will be held Sunday, August 28th, beginning at 1 p.m. at the ICC parking lot. Register at Fuller Hall prior to the race day. Anyone else have anything? Item 2 is minutes, claims, reports and licenses. The following items have been deemed non-controversial routine actions to be approved by the council in a single motion. If a council member or the member of the audience wishing to have an item removed from this list will be considered on its normal sequence on the agenda. I have minutes of August 1st. I have resolution on payroll for period ending July 30th and paid on August 5th. Resolution on bills and approved fund list. Recommend approval for issuance of beer and liquor licenses by the Iowa Department of Commerce for the following. One is a Class C liquor license, outdoor service and Sunday service for Seneca Street Saloon, Olson v. 919 Seneca Street. E is city manager reports for July. F is inspection department report for June. G is police department report for July. H is a fire department report for July. I is a planning and zoning commission minutes of August 8th. How would you like to?
Move to approve collectively.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 3, general agenda. A, presentation by Mark Dames on behalf of Noon Rotary for painting of a mural on west wall of the RSVP Senior Citizen Center building located at 749 2nd Street. Ariel.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Thank you for your time. Before you is a request from Noon Rotary to approve a memorial mural in honor of Pat Westcott to be painted on the west side of the RSVP building located at 749 2nd Street. Historically, the council has approved memorial locations on public property. The Park and Rec Commission and the Planning and Zoning Commission have both recommended approval for the painting. And tonight we have Mark Dolms with Noon Rotary here to answer any questions you may have about the memorial. So I'll turn it over.
Thank you, Council, Mayor Hawkins and council members. Feel like I've been up here before. It's a reminder that on October 9th, there will be a dedication of the Harpst sculpture on South Des Moines Street. I am tonight representing the Rotary Club. Pat was a member of Rotary for a number of years, and when she passed unexpectedly, the family collected the memorial money and then gave it to the Noon Rotary Club and asked us if we would do something with it. We don't normally do that, but in this case, we accepted the task and didn't do anything for a while, kind of waiting for some direction from the family. Pat was into the arts, and so as a result, we were looking at things that we could maybe do downtown. We looked at several things. Nothing was really suitable. In talking with Mayor Hawkins, he reminded me that the city owned the RSVP building and that we might be able to use that for a mural. And so it began, and I've been working on this for a number of months with the family and with the artists. The artists, by the way, are the two ladies who did the mural on the old US Cellular building there at the corner of Wilson and Des Moines with the monarch butterflies and the cone flowers and other things. You have before you a rendering by the artists of what they are proposing. Of course, there'll be some probably final tweaking, but one thing I do want to point out is that I had scribbled through the wrought iron on either side of the archway. In talking with them today, that's back in. So that's the wrought iron will be there. The one big change, and I again just found out today, to the left of the arch, where the one wisteria is kind of hanging down front and center, they're planning to put paint a purple door, kind of an homage to Pat, who had Classic Carpets, the store with the purple doors. That came out as a suggestion from the planning and zoning meeting. They said, what about a purple door? And apparently the artists like the concept. So they will be presenting us a drawing or a rendering with that. And I can always share that with city employees and have you take a last look at it. But we are asking for permission for the Rotary to go ahead with this project. I have spoken with Zach Chiswick, city attorney, fellow Rotarian, about entering into an agreement to something so that the city and Rotary, some kind of a legal agreement on this project. Now, I'll entertain whatever question. It's going to be roughly 20 by 40 in dimensions. I did scribble on this before the planning and zoning meeting, so you'll see arrows there. So it's going to be somewhat in the middle of the wall between the two doors that are already there. In this vicinity right here.
Door in the window.
And there is a tree, this tree that's kind of in the foreground, I think, but when the leaves are off, during half of the year, there'll be just a great perspective of that, people driving east on 2nd Street. And I think it's far enough back that it'll be visible for many people.
Okay. Any questions from that? Resolution approving Noon Rotary's request to paint a memorial mural in the honor of Patricia Pat Westcott on the west wall of the RSVP building and authorizing the mayor to sign and execute a facade easement agreement with Rotary.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're
Thank you
good, we're
very
good to go.
much. We really
Thanks,
appreciate
Mark.
that.
Thank you.
I think it'll be a nice enhancement for Webster City, and it's all private, it's private money, so.
Thank you.
B is a resolution authorizing the city manager to approve the request from Lift WC to install a soccer mini pitch system in East Twin Park next to the pickleball court.
Before you is a request from Lift WC to approve the installation of a soccer mini pitch system located next to the pickleball court at East Twin Park. So Lift WC has partnered with Musco Lighting and the US Soccer Fund to place one of the 1,000 mini pitch systems in the United States. In addition to receiving hotel motel funds, Lift WC has received grant funding from Musco Lighting and the US Soccer Foundation and Kick It Forward. The Park and Rec Commission and Planning and Zoning Commission have both recommended approval for the mini pitch system to be installed at East Twin Park. And Zach Chiswick with Noon Rotary will be able to answer any questions you guys may have.
The location, just fit the build size, is that kind of pick that?
Yeah, just the location where it fits, as well as its proximity to the other amenities at the park was one of the reasons We wanted to go there as well as on the West Twin Park. There was a lot of arts and culture related sculptures that have been planned, and there's a desire to see more of that go into that park. So that's the reason why they picked that location.
Yeah, Parks and Rec was the one who picked up. We gave them the options of different, Daniel and I and Brianne went out there one day and walked it off and gave them the options. And this is the one that they chose.
Yeah, West Twin, there was also a lot of trees, and so those are concerned in terms of debris and maintenance with having to continually clean up the court when you have the branches or the leaves and other debris that blows in there or falls into that.
Oh, sure, yeah. No, I'm excited about this. This is really cool that Webster City gets the opportunity to have something like this. I think it'll be heavily used. You know, again, I just don't want to lose sight of a possible splash pad somewhere, you know, and that's one of the locations I thought maybe Cox was splash pad, but again, if the Parks and Rec feel it's the best fit there, then I'm 100% supportive of it. I just don't want to lose that in the back of our minds either.
There's room on the north side yet.
Everyone.
There's a fair bit of room over there.
Between the skate park, or
To-
you're talking the north.
North
west.
of where that.
Between the basketball court and the playground.
Yeah.
North of
Yeah.
that. Oh, yeah.
North of the little shelter there.
Triangle.
It's quite a bit of room there, so.
And sounds like they're possibly gonna be delivered late next year,
No.
Be here, the week of October.
or this year, sorry, yeah, okay. And it'll be installed same year.
Yeah, the actual court, the membrane, the epoxy will be the only issue that we may run into just because of weather. It has to, can't drop below 60 degrees at night. And so depending on what the weather is this year, I think it's time to do it. If we can still get it in, we'll do it this year. If not, it'll have to be first part, like when it starts warming up in the spring. But otherwise, everything else will be, the system will all be installed by the end of the year though.
Cool.
And they said it could still be used. It'll just be concrete instead of epoxy, so.
Okay, so resolution authorizing the city manager to approve the request from WC to install the soccer mini pitch system in East Twin Park next to the pickleball court.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item C is a resolution authorizing the amendment to the USDA revolving loan fund reuse plan. Oh, Ariel, you here again?
Me again. Nothing like throwing me in, right? Before you is a request to amend the USDA revolving loan fund reuse plan. The plan was last adopted May 16th of 2016. The city administers a USDA revolving fund for projects that will significantly improve and benefit the rural area by contributing to the long-term improvement of the economy. With the recent staff changes, the plan is in need of updates to reflect the point of contact. The city is requesting to update the point of contact to myself, and the city is also requesting to update the review committee to bring it current by adding the planning and zoning commission chairperson and the city of Webster City's finance director.
Just like an org chart change on the,
Yep.
move to
Yep.
approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thanks, Ariel. Okay.
Yep.
All right. D, request from Asbury United Methodist Church for street closing for Rally Day celebration to be held September 11th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Des Moines Street alleyway that runs north of Asbury United Methodist Church and Fuller Hall to the corner of Des Moines and Bank Street on the west side amounts to half a block.
So this is just coming to you because it involves Des Moines Street, which is one of the main streets that's listed in the street closure request to have approval by council.
I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item E is resolution approving change order number 4 and 5 to the 2021 Second Street reconstruction project with Rash Constructions Incorporated of 1825 Johnson Avenue, Fort Dodge, Iowa.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The items before you are change orders number 4 and 5. These are just change orders we needed to do in order to maintain our water distribution system and keep stormwater and water clearances in the project. We also had some additional signage for one of the businesses and then a temporary water service.
Questions?
I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item F is discussion options on Second Street tree planting.
We have John Oliver, Snyder and Associates. Previously spoke to you last month regarding the tree plantings on Second Street and possible options. He refined a list of trees that are might be applicable in terms of their size. So I'll let him kind of go over the scope of what you guys can consider.
Does council have the exhibit?
We do.
Daniel? Good evening.
Evening, John.
From the last council meeting, we took those comments back and made a few changes. The Second Street exhibit, which is in your packet, we updated the trees. It's that 11 by 17. Daniel. Yeah, we took off the plantings and landscaping beds. Then we, yeah, that's it, thank you. And we had, in doing that, that opened up more space, so we adjusted the planting plan to more of a uniform planting plan through the corridor. And then the next item we updated was the tree packet. Those trees that you see in the tree packet are on the city's tree planting list. I think there's 7 in all. We would propose to use all 7 if council's okay with that. We can get a biodiversity of trees through the corridor. And if there's trees you don't like, we can certainly take those out and replace them with other trees from the tree planting list that the city approved.
One of
Yeah.
them there shreds berries. I don't know if it's a hackberry one, I think. Be better if people don't have berries to clean up, but.
And the major change from the proposals we looked at in the past is there's no landscaping to maintain, right?
Yep.
So city maintenance costs would be lower.
Yep.
Really, we're just putting trees in some areas that trees are removed for the construction and giving it a similar feel to the rest of the Main Street area, right? This is kind of purpose, right? The streetlights in there are existing.
Yeah.
So this is just 1 or 2 blocks?
This is just an example block. So,
How many blocks are we doing? The whole
No,
Main Street?
it'd be the 2-lane
you'd
section.
only have
from
probably
beach to the bridge.
Like the 1300 block, the 1500 block or 16 or something.
So from like
Three or
Casey.
13,
West.
14, yeah, maybe a bit of 15, I suppose. Probably not much of 15. I don't think there's any.
We were thinking we'd take it all the way up to the bridge. That goes over the railroad tracks.
So from Casey's to the bridge?
And this estimate, this preliminary construction budget, that's for all that
It's per block.
per block. Okay.
So it's roughly 4 blocks from Casey's to the bridge.
So 23 trees per block. That doesn't seem right.
That seems a bit excessive.
That's what.
Maybe it
that's
is.
how many
I guess
trees
I
are
didn't
on
count
there.
them out. Okay.
I'd counted them.
Yeah, there
that's-
is.
It's
that's what we have on
23.
the page there.
There's probably more trees there than really needed.
I think so.
We can certainly scale that back.
I mean, I guess looking at a picture like this, you know, you kind of look, okay, it looks like a lot, but then again, when you count trees on a block that might be matching it. Again, I want them to look uniform. I want them to look like the road was done, not necessarily everything was redone. So I wanted to somewhat match the rest of the blocks, but Again, if we can pare that down, I mean, I read 23 each, that's what I just thought, that was like the whole area, it's 23 trees, so I didn't see this one
But it-
block.
I don't think you're gonna get, that's the clearest block. I think the rest of the blocks are sort of probably not gonna get as many on, are you? Maybe the one from Casey's, but the road's not as wide when you get further down there, is it?
This isn't updated, is it? But it still
No.
give you an idea, right?
Yeah. But it gives you an idea where to
We can
go.
certainly thin it down as we approach the bridge and keep it more in the residential portion of the corridor, if you like.
Yeah, I think that's something to be discussed is just, the cadence or the consistency of the trees, the density of the trees. If they need to be, is that as shown on that picture or not, but I do appreciate taking out the landscaping and I'm sure city staff does as well. I haven't heard their thoughts on it, but
It was gonna be a maintenance issue trying to move forward and then snow removal when you get the plow coming through and.
I know we talked last time, again, I'm trying to jog my memory a month or two ago when we talked to this originally. Upheaving of pavement and stuff like that in the future. Like, are some of these trees better than others, like the maximum they grow or the root systems are different? Like, are we still gonna see that upheaving issue of sidewalk over time? Probably can't be avoided.
We've got at least 11 and a half feet of green space between the curb and the sidewalk.
There should be sufficient room.
That's, the thick, heavy roots near the tree, or we're not gonna cause upheaving of the sidewalk. I think in some parts of town, I know exactly what you're talking about, the trees maybe 2 feet away from the sidewalk, and we've got a couple panels popped up. And one thing too, on the plan, the final plan won't exactly have the trees planted in these locations. We'll still need to look at, okay, where's the utilities, where's the electrical line, gas mains?
Yeah.
So we're a little strategic with the final locations of the trees to avoid hitting those.
What size do these trees come in when you first get them? It's like 6 foot?
Inch-and-a-half caliper. So the trunks are about like this, and then it depends on the tree's speed. 6 foot, you're probably pretty close to that. You're probably 6 to 8 foot.
Did you say that total amount dollar wise is per block?
So if we, there's roughly 4 blocks distance, but that last block from the bridge to Second Street is equivalent of 2 blocks. So we scaled that back, say 3 blocks total, that's about 60,000
Mhm.
for trees and to bid it. And get a contractor on board to come in and put the trees in. On the pricing of the trees, we did include a 1-year warranty and maintenance that the contractor would do to get the trees established the first year.
Realize how many trees were taken down there.
Council you will need to determine if you want to move forward with a landscape plan that will finalize specs for and put out to bid. Cost wise, as you mentioned, you're looking at about 22,000 per block. So if you want to do the full 4-block approximate length or shorten that up to 2 or 3, then since this wasn't something that was originally factored into the Second Street project that we bonded for, we'll have to check to see if there's any funds remaining in the bond to have it come out of there or to do it as from the general fund appropriation.
This may be already explored, but Webster City being a tree town, a recognized tree town for years and having a tree replacement program and access to trees, like, are there any price breaks, grants, any type of avenues we can, possibly subsidize this through that organization or some ties to it?
There's, so we've applied for in the past the DNR's Community Forestry Grant. And the deadline's coming up for September, and Brianna's already planned to apply for that for trees in the parks, especially for some that were taken down after the storm last December. And so, but when she gets those trees, those are much smaller. They're not the larger 1.5 inch diameter that John was referring to make sure they get set properly. And so, and then the caveat of not knowing whether we actually get the grant or off and you can use it. So there are some opportunities, but there's no guarantees right now in terms of what's available, and what takes away from the other park areas that we would need it for.
Sure.
Given the projects that we have coming up that are so expensive and some of the implications of those for citizens, I'm kind of hesitant to spend this kind of money on something like this, maybe how it looks for our budgeting.
Would
Oh,
it
good.
still look okay if we scaled down on some of the trees? Like, it would obviously lower the amount per block than if we didn't have like 23 per block.
I think you could get away with that having 23.
Or
When's
if
the
we,
planting season, like when do you plant trees and these type of trees in Iowa?
You could involve it in the spring.
I'm just thinking budget wise, if it was.
we're just trying to do it all at once. I mean, you can break this up into, like, you do a third of the trees each block over 3 different years. So we're really only pulling $20-some thousand from the annual budget into the trees of this over time. And then they kind of establish and grow at different rates, but they're only a year or two behind each other. You're not going to notice it 10 years down the road. Might be something we can do to thin it out as well. Maybe we start with smaller trees and kind of roll the dice of them getting established. And if not, we just put another smaller tree in, if they don't make it. We put a lot of money in this road, and of course I wanted to look good. It's our main artery, east-west through town. Of course, I want it to look well, but yeah, it is kind of daunting to see that, we've spent millions and we have to put another $100,000 into just tree replacement.
Yeah.
It is kind of hard pill to swallow. So I agree. I think we kind of should look at either ways to do this over time or do it more cost effective or less of.
I agree.
Does the size or scope of the project impact the cost of the contractors would be interested in doing, or as it gets smaller, are we going to be able to have competitive contractors interested in this?
How small? I think there's some landscaping firms and companies that are close by, so I think there's gonna be interest, if we take it down to 20 trees a year, I would think we'd have bidders on it, and you're gonna get underneath the threshold where instead of, we could do competitive quotes as opposed to we'd be below the public bid threshold, so we could contact those landscaping companies directly and solicit them for bids.
Again, I apologize, I'm speaking naively, but since our city does replace trees, but they are a smaller one, they're not the 1.5 inch calipers, what you're referring to.
We could reduce the size to.
What if, the city did it over time? Again, I'm not speaking extremely naively to their workload and other things they have going on, but as they replace trees throughout the city, they can possibly also fill locations identified through this engineering work where we would want them over time.
We can ask Snyder to look back and get a cost proposal, because the key part, like you mentioned, is where the underground utilities are at and making sure we don't just go start digging. And so that's going to be the key question. We're going to have to do locates, but understanding how exact location of where to plant the trees so that they avoid, and the root structures avoid the underground utilities is going to be an important part for us.
The watering part add quite a bit to the quote, when you're saying they're gonna come back and water, the first couple months of the tree, right, you get the water pretty consistently. So that's gotta have quite a bit, right, for them to come back, contract, they come back and
That's how
water.
far they're coming from.
I'm just thinking, if you've got 80 trees, they're gonna be watering all day.
Exactly. Typically, the city would provide a water meter for them, and then they could load their tank up using city water.
Some relevance to that, my company waters the Smid downtown, there's 67 planters, takes an hour,
It takes how long?
takes 1 hour.
To just-
That's filling the water tank and watering.
just run
Yeah.
by. That's what I was just thinking, like, is that gonna be the big cost of just watering?
So I guess what I'm getting at is, I agree with other council statements with, I don't like the price tag on this right now, if what else we have in the works. I do think it's needed, but maybe we can do it over time or at a different scale.
Did you want to have a design so that you know what design you have, and then we see if we can get volunteers to, and we get the trees if we can, and, you know, get the right trees, and then we get volunteers to plant them
Yeah, I
and
think,
water them and things like that, but we have to have the right design and the right positioning for it.
I'd probably have Brianne and John sit down to go over the exact location. It might be a question where we have Snyder GPS the approximate locations of where we want to put them to avoid any issues with the underground utilities. And so then once we have that labeled and GIS, then we could do it over time with help.
So you want us to finalize moving forward with Schneider's engineering plan, but then we can take that engineering plan and not necessarily bid it out, but look at other ways to fulfill it.
Yeah, I think well, for now, I'd probably look for a consensus if the council wants to, one, move forward, two, if you want to keep the density of the trees, or if you want to scale that back. And then we can visit with Snyder and Brianne on a plan to move forward to bring back to you guys later with a proposal for Snyder Services that would, one, GIS the locations to avoid those conflicts, and any other things that would be considered just part of the tree planting in the future.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, me too.
So no resolution needed, just.
Yeah, we're not
consensus
doing
that
a
we're gonna-
resolution, so.
No, but are you gonna
it's just
tell
a-
them how many trees you want?
So yeah, I would let, so let's start. Are you guys wanting all essentially 4 blocks, or do you just want to do it from essentially the Second Street curve up to Casey's?
I think we should look at all 4 blocks.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't, you know, when. I mean, there's too many trees on there because I know just, you know, because 4 of the trees are in front of my house. But so I know where my utilities are, so.
Just the hackberries.
So.
Just a hackberry.
Well, 5 of them, no, only 5. But you know, so obviously we have more there than we could probably go there because the utilities, like you say, straight up. So
Okay, so
I think once you know, you'll have a better indication once you go through and do your.
So
And then I think we should look for volunteers and we'll start looking for trees and see what we can do, getting trees and things with.
So we'll plan
Sure, I mean-
on the 4 blocks. Are you guys comfortable with those 7 selection of trees as options to consider?
Can we ex-nay the
Hackberry?
berry one? Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go with 6, X-name the hackberry.
Hackberry.
Well, I just, you know, there's a mulberry one on Beach Street there. And it's funny, I watched the guy go down there the other day, and of course he was on his electric wheelchair. Well, he drove out in the street and around it because he didn't want to drive through the mulberry.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, there's not much you can do about it. I mean, they're just gonna come down. You can't stop it, but it's.
Okay. Any other questions we need to flesh out with council, John, or are those the 2 main points? Okay,
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank
so
you.
just to confirm, we'll work on the 4 block set or the 4 block distance. We're X-name the hackberry. We'll come back with a proposal from Snyder for their services to locate those specific locations that don't have conflicts, and work with Brianne and to get volunteers and others to plan.
Sounds good.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Okay, item G is a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign and execute amendment number 1 to task order number 4 with DGO Engineering Incorporated for professional engineering services associated with the Riseness substation.
So the item before you is related to a draft that we were going through on the electric distribution system with DGR. One of the things they noticed as they're helping us plan our CIP for the future is that past water substation is going to be in need of major repairs and overhauls. But they were aware that at some point the city was considering an industrial substation near where the current wastewater plant is going. So we signed a task order with them to begin preliminary engineering associated with site selection because it aligned very well with the current location of the force main route. So past water substation is a location where the force main route does need to go under. So if that site is decommissioned in a timely manner, then the force main route can go through there without any issues. But in order to get that industrial substation built, we do need a power transformer, and the current lead times are 18 months. So to
At
get
best,
18
months at best.
at best, to get everything to align properly as we're working towards that wastewater treatment plant construction, the force main installation. We wanted to come before council to request an amendment to put the bid package together for that power transformer. So we can order it, and basically just wait for it to get here by the time we're ready.
That would, sorry.
I was just gonna say the potential proposed location for the Reisner substation, the new substation, is this corner block here. And I see the outlines when it was initially conceptualized well over 10 years ago, I believe. You see the outlines of the poles that were set in anticipation of that development, and then Electrolux left, and so that diminished the need for having a new substation. And now as we're looking at the wastewater plant, as well as just the age of the plant, preliminary recommendation was to potentially look at retiring that and building a new plant to offset that. Building a new substation to offset that. This is just for them to develop the specifications for that transformer.
So is the 18 months in that period for decommissioning that one?
No, past waters would not be decommissioned until we're fully operational with the new industrial substation. So there'd be no gap in power.
There wouldn't, okay.
No.
You might as well stay there, Barry. You can do the aerobics if you like.
I like the exercise.
Call for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item H is a resolution authorising the city manager to execute purchase for a 1500 kVA transformer from Sunbelt Solomon in the amount of $46,500 to restock their city electric utility inventory.
So we typically don't have a large number of transformers of this size of 1500 kV. They're typically seen for some of our larger industrial and commercial customers. We have about a total of 10 within the entire system, and recently we had one that we had to replace, and that depleted our last remaining stock of that 1500 kVA transformer. About over a year ago, we had another one that went out and we didn't have any available in stock, and we had to essentially borrow one from the city of Denison as a stopgap measure until our new one came in and replaced that inventory. And so kind of like what BD talked about in terms of the lead time of transformers, that really kind of put in perspective for a transformer that serves some of our larger industrial and commercial customers. We just don't have the inventory available right now. So what this is doing is ordering one remanufactured transformer at a cost of $46,500. We're also working, Adam and Deidre in our office, working on putting together specs to put a much larger order for additional transformers so that we have stocks readily available in the event that they need to be used or to replace transformers that go out or issues that occur on the system. The lead time for that remanufactured transformer, that was another factor why we went with that one, which isn't necessarily the lower cost, but is one that meets our specifications. And the lead time for that remanufactured transformer is 8 to 11 weeks versus 25 to 27 for the refurbished one or whatever they called it.
Okay,
Move to approve.
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item I, resolution authorizing the mayor to sign and execute an agreement for as-needed lawn mowing and snow removal services on city-owned properties within the corporate limits of Webster City.
I'd like to preface this. I'll be abstaining from item I.
So the item before you, the city did put out a bid originally for nuisance mowing. In that bid proposal that we requested, we did not incorporate city-owned properties. And the reason that we thought it would be a good idea to do an on-call service agreement with a mower is with the current labor market and the unpredictability of the weather. Sometimes it'll rain more than others. There'll be a need for more mowing some years than others. We thought it would be good to have somebody on call in the event that the Public Grounds Department needed assistance with mowing of city-owned properties. As we've been acquiring some properties, some of them are kind of scattered throughout town, so it just creates more of a time suck for our current staff to go an additional, go out of their current routine to mow a city-owned property. So this is basically going to be on call as needed. We don't foresee it's going to be utilized very heavily, but it's basically just to have on the back burner in the event that we have a labor market shortage or we have a rainy season and there's just a pickup in the mowing need. But the lowest bidder came in at $22.50 per hour, and that was T&D Handyman Services.
Call for a motion.
Move to approve T&D Handyman Services.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Item J is a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign and execute an agreement with J.C. Tolland Painting LLC for pool slide repair and painting project. And the amount to be determined.
Yep, so the reason there's no amount on this one is we did have a structural engineer inspect the water slide last year, August of 2021. They did make some recommendations that we needed to do. The project was put out for bids last year. We didn't receive any bids. So it was recently rebid out again. And we received a bid in the amount of $139,925. That's a minimum because we do have a per unit on about 3 or 4 items on there. So because we only budgeted 80,000, I did contact the structural engineer from Chuck Britson who did do the inspection. He didn't really know where the request to paint the actual flume of the slide came from. That was just something that was added on. And he didn't recommend we proceed with that because it's fiberglass. He didn't understand how the paint would hold there. He did highly recommend that we replace some of the gaskets on the joints to keep the leaking from happening on the brackets. So I went ahead and modified that bid request and eliminated the request to paint the slide and simply put in a request for them to remove and replace any necessary gaskets. So they did provide a new revised bid. The minimum amount that they will be charging us is $78,669, but that will be contingent on the number of brackets that we need to replace, the number of welds that have to happen, and in any of the major structural repairs that need to happen as well. Until we sandblast and get a structural engineer back out here who can actually measure section loss and tell us exactly where we need to make these repairs. I don't have a firm number for you on what that's going to cost. But we do need to do these repairs this year because the recommendation is that we do not operate next year in the current condition. A new slide, roughly, this is very rough, using the same footings with the exact same model of the slide, basically same number of turns, length would be about 250,000. That does not include engineering. So I would say somewhere between 300 and 350 would probably be a safer number. But just so you get an idea of what that would cost. So the request before you is to authorize the award of the bid agreement to J.C. Tolan Painting for the poolside repair. We don't know what that amount is going to be, but we can bring that forward to you as we get more information.
Question.
I did speak with our finance director and she did mention we could use any available general fund monies to pay for this.
You said what?
We have available money in the general fund.
If you were wondering where we would get the money from.
The trees or a slide? Which one you want?
We'll do the slide. We've got the trees we can work around.
I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thanks, Petey. Item K is resolution setting date for a public hearing on proposal to enter into a general obligation police vehicle acquisition loan agreement and to borrow money thereunder in the principal amount not to exceed $170,000 for September 6th at 6:05 PM.
So this is just a resolution to set the public hearing for at our next council meeting. It's a follow-up item to the discussion we had at the previous council meeting regarding the police vehicles. And acquiring 3 and financing them over the next 3 years. The estimated cost for both the 3 trucks we'd be looking to purchase and the upfitting of those vehicles was approximately under $170,000, which we're looking to finance. We'll essentially get bids from local financing institutions and come back with those specific figures to be able to vote on at the next meeting.
Approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Call for a motion to adjourn.
To approve.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Mark, did you want those